Hi, Scott. Thanks for being here.
Hey, good morning, Beth. How you doing? Or good afternoon, whatever time it is. I don't know where we're at. Yeah, no problem.
Where are you guys at?
We're all over the country, but I'm in Virginia,
Virginia. Nice.
and Kevin's he'll be in Pennsylvania,
Oh,
and then Robin is in Washington.
state.
Yep, the state.
Nice. So she's on our time frame.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and she works on our time frame, so she does the 4 to 3 shift or whatever that would be.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, or
Nice.
whatever she does. Yeah, whatever time it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Very nice.
I see my
Well, I'm
little
so glad you guys are
clients here.
here. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem.
Mm.
Yeah, I hope
Hey,
I don't.
Scott.
Hi, Pam. Good to hear you.
Nice seeing you.
I hope we put a little bit of education in it, just like what we understand bird design to be. So I don't know if it's going to be people will be like, oh, boring. It might be like, didn't know, we already knew that, but we're coming into this rather cold a little bit, but in the end we'll provide what it's going to take. If you're going to try to get a bird design glass in through NFRC certification, we'll provide what's going on with it. So hopefully
Thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, Kevin will do a good job.
Yeah. Looking forward to hearing what he has to say.
Yeah. Yep. I like what he put together. So
Oh, good.
again, thanks for having us. We appreciate the opportunity.
Grateful you're here.
I'll go silent.
Hi, Kevin. Thanks for being here. Appreciate you being a part of this. So I'll let you know.
No problem. Thanks for having us, Beth.
Yeah, you're welcome. Hi, good morning, everybody. Hey, I'm just gonna give it a couple more minutes to see if we get a few more people that sign on. So we'll be right back. It takes a while. Good morning. I am just waiting a couple more minutes until, hi, Bob. So if you guys are all okay, we'll get started about 3 more minutes, 9:05. Is that capiche? All right, thanks. All right, good morning, everybody. My name is Beth. Got it. My name is Beth Maynard, and I am an Associate Construction Analyst with the California Building Standards Commission. And here with me today is Director Mia Marvelli and Barbara Tresley and other Building Standards Commission staff. So I'd like to thank you for your interest in our bird-friendly workshop today. If you'd like a copy of the draft express terms, you can find the document, and let me open my PowerPoint. So you can find the PowerPoint on our website as shown on the slide, dgs.ca.gov/BSC/rulemaking. Select the 2022 intervening code adoption cycle, select pre-cycle activities, select bird friendly, and then find today's date for the current express terms. The location is also linked on today's meeting agenda. This meeting can be viewed on the Building Standards Commission's YouTube channel linked on the meeting agenda. I would like to remind the viewers there is a 45-second or so delay between Zoom and YouTube. Closed captioning is available via Zoom's automated live transcription by clicking on the CC live transcript button. Closed captioning will automatically appear if you're watching via YouTube. The public may provide comments on any of the agenda items by the raise hand feature or calling in on the Zoom teleconference number as provided here and also listed on the meeting agenda. If you're having any difficulty with the technology, you can call our office at 916-263-0916. Please note that the chat feature is disabled in order to keep all conversations with the members here on Zoom. Again, if you wish to make a comment on a specific agenda item, please listen for the chair to ask for any comments from the public. Once comments have been received from the public in Zoom, the chair will take the comments from the public on the Zoom phone line. At that time, please take yourself off mute, announce your name, who you are representing before making your comment. Please mute yourself when you're done commenting. The chair will go through the call queue until there are no more questions remaining. And if possible, please call from a landline using the telephone handset only. This enhances the ability to hear your comments clearly. Calling from a speakerphone or a cell phone reduces the quality of the audio and makes it much harder for your comments to be heard clearly. So agenda item 1A, the purpose of the stakeholder workshop is to present and help fine-tune the BSC bird-friendly design express terms for Calgaryen non-residential voluntary section. The 2021 code cycle adoption concluded January 2022, resulting in the 2022 edition of the California Building Standards Code. As of July 1st, they were available for purchase and are available to view on our website. The 2022 the 2022 edition, they become effective January 1st, 2023. The bird-friendly proposal being discussed today is for the 2022 intervening code cycle, which, if approved, will be published on the blue supplement pages effective July 2024. The intent of these bird-friendly regulations is to support the Declaration for Biodiversity. Biodiversity's Executive Order B5418, signed by Governor Brown, directs the California Department of Food and Agriculture, the Department of Fish and Wildlife, to partner in protecting California's native vegetation and animals while restoring and protecting the habitats. The executive order also established September 7th as California's Biodiversity Day. The Building Standards Commission is doing our part to propose voluntary bird-friendly design standards for non-residential buildings. If you wish to read and understand more about California's biodiversity, you can go to their website at californiabiodiversityinitiative.org. Additionally, state law and regulation authorize local additions to amend the California Building Standards Code, Title 24, based on geographical, climatic, topographical, and environmental conditions. in efforts to implement more restrictive standards which contribute to the goal of environmental preservation. If approved, the bird-friendly voluntary regulations could be adopted by local jurisdictions through the ordinance process. There are a growing number of communities adopting bird-friendly building practices over the past few years. If you're interested, there is a list of bird-safe building legislation, ordinance, and guidelines that have adopted bird-friendly design in California and across the states. Canada now also has a set of standards for bird-friendly design, CSA 460. To find the list, you can go to BSC's website, rulemaking tab, pre-cycle activities, and the June 7th tab, appendix 2. So does anybody have any questions this far? Anybody on the telephone? Okay. So we're not going to do any formal introductions, but if you have any comments throughout this presentation, please raise your hand and we'll address you, and you can state your name and your organization. So agenda item 1B, this is our rulemaking timeline. So we are now in the process of the 2022 intervening code adoption cycle. BSC and other state agencies are currently conducting stakeholder workshops and focus group meetings throughout the rest of the summer with minor code updates. BSC is proposing to update Part 5 of the California Plumbing Code, Part 10, California Existing Building Code, additional items in Part 11, Calgaryen, addressing electric vehicles and carbon reduction. If you haven't yet and would like to subscribe to Cbsc's mailing list, go to the BSC website, search contact, and this will bring up DGS Go Delivery subscription service webpage. You can add your information there. Cbsc will send out emails regarding upcoming meetings, public comment period notices, information bulletins, and quarterly newsletters. Our goal here is to put together draft regulations, add necessary language to our eyesore document, and work on the economic and fiscal impact document, so the rulemaking documents can be finalized and submitted to Building Standards Commission by December 1st. This is the due date for all agencies to submit their rulemaking documents for the 2022 intervening code adoption cycle. So does anybody have any questions or anything else regarding the timeline? Hi, Mia.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Hey, I just want to double check, Beth. Are you intending to share anything on the screen yet or not yet?
Oh, I'm not sharing anything? Oh.
I'm not seeing anything.
All right. Yes, I have been sharing my, isn't that great?
The good news is you're not sharing anything you shouldn't be sharing. So
right, yes. And now how do I share?
Zoom is a little different than Teams.
It is, isn't it? I don't think I've.
Down at the bottom. You see down that green, the green button.
Oh, share screen. Hi. Yeah, it's a little different. Oh my God.
There we go.
Thank you, Mia.
You're welcome.
All right. So let me.
There it is.
Okay. So why doesn't it show?
Do you want to do it as a slideshow?
Yeah.
Slideshow center? Center top? A little bit more to the left. Right there. From beginning your current slide.
Okay. What you missed. There's our DG. Thank you. Everything going off on a great start. And there's information about our Zoom and teleconference. Our purpose, intent, and goal. Timeline. So we are here. So we will be headed to the Building Standards Commission around December, beginning of December. Okay, so we're on agenda item 2. So AB 2382 is currently enrolled as of September 1st. When I had put the PowerPoint presentation, it was on its third reading, but as of the 1st of September, it is now enrolled. And so just note, BSC monitored this legislation, but we took no official position. I thought this was important to mention. This is a portion of our regulations that addresses light pollution control. So Section 1 of Chapter 12 of the Government Code read light pollution control. The legislature finds and declares that the purpose of this chapter is to regulate outdoor night lighting to preserve and enhance the state's dark sky while promoting safety for people, birds, and other wildlife, conserving energy, reducing our carbon footprint, and preserving the aesthetic qualities of the night sky. Except as specified in section 11903, a state agency shall ensure that between the hours of 11 p.m. and sunrise, an outdoor lighting fixture that is installed or replaced on a building or structure on or after January 1st, 2023, that is owned, leased, or managed by a state agency is part of the following. A, shielded. B, extinguished by an automatic or manual shutoff device. C, motion activated with a duration of fewer than 15 minutes and equipped with automatic shutoff device. So how does light pollution affect the birds? Light pollution, many migratory birds have evolved to travel at night when they are safer from predators, and the cooler temperatures enable them to expend less energy. To find their way during these flights, birds use natural cues, including the moon and the stars, to navigate. Light emanating from urban areas obscures these natural cues, which disorients and confuses the migratory birds. Light also attracts them into the unfamiliar urban environment, where they subsequently get trapped, hence the term fatal light attraction. Once trapped, birds attempt to take shelter in whatever habitat they can find. Anybody have any questions here?
No answering.
Okay, so why we're here. Birds have been living and migrating through the various regions for many hundreds of thousands of years. However, dangers posed to birds by today's modern urban landscapes are very new in terms of evolutionary timescales, and birds have been unable to alter their natural behaviors to keep pace with these relatively recent products of human activity. Many bird populations are decreasing rapidly throughout North and South America, and it's inconceivable that they can evolve quickly enough to adjust to massive urbanization, deforestation, habitat loss, climate change, and other factors threatening them. Cities are key places where adjustments in human behavior necessary for bird conservation can occur. In recent years, advances in glass technology, production, energy efficiency, and cost effectiveness have resulted in considerable increase in the amount of glass used in construction. Cities have been increasingly dangerous for birds to navigate. Research has shown that untreated glass is responsible for most bird collisions with buildings. Unlike humans, birds cannot perceive images reflected in glass as reflections and will fly into windows that appear to them to be trees or sky. Clear glass also poses a danger, as birds have no natural ability to perceive clear glass as a solid object. Birds will strike clear glass while attempting to reach habitat and sky seen through corridors, windows positioned opposite each other in a room, ground floor lobbies, glass balconies, or glass corners. The impact of striking a reflective or clear window in full height often results in death. The scale of the problem is considerable, but there are already a myriad of examples of innovative design solutions available that incorporate bird-friendly design into buildings. Whether intentionally or incidentally, without sacrificing architectural standards, in new construction, bird-friendly design strategies can be incorporated from the initial design stages, but there are also many ways to reduce mortality at existing buildings. So according to Cornell Lab article that was brought out May 2017, there are two main types of window collisions, daytime and nighttime. Daytime collisions occur simply because most birds do not perceive glass as an obstacle. Migratory birds in particular have not evolved to live built environments and do not see the context cues that indicate that glass is solid. Instead, they see things they know and need, such as a habitat, open sky, reflected in the glazed surface or on other night side of one or more panes of glass. So nighttime collisions occur because the illumination of buildings created a beacon effect for night migrating birds. Weather conditions are favorable. These birds tend to fly over 150 milliliters. I should have looked that up, and depend heavily on visual references to maintain their orientation. However, during inclement weather, they often descend to lower altitudes, possibly in search of clear sky, celestial cues, or magnetic references, and are liable to be attracted to illuminated buildings or other tall lighted structures. Night lighting also affects daytime collisions by temporarily increasing the number of migratory birds in urban areas. When the sun rises and those trapped birds begin to move about, forage, or seek an escape, they often encounter the deadly effects of reflective and transparent glass. So we received a few comments from different places, and AIA sent in this comment. I don't know that bird safe design is a standard practice yet, but AIA recognizes it as an important aspect of our framework for design excellence. We even highlight American Bird I can't say that today, Conservancy, bird safe design guidelines on AIA's framework for design excellence, design for ecosystem. We also received comments from Kaleidoscape. Here today with us is Jeff Frank, Elizabeth Kavanaugh, and comments from Daniel Clem. So at Kaleidoscape, they're not ornithologists. We are film and film application experts who have channeled our knowledge and expertise exclusively to help birds. From our beginning, we have relied on the research and expertise of Daniel Clem because he is the expert in the field. He is an accredited researcher who follows scientific methodology to determine the best solutions to prevent bird window collisions. Dr. Daniel Clem is with the Ornithology and Conservation Biology Department of Muhlenberg College. And his statement is, California ordinances should emphasize Surface One applications at all installations with the option to allow other service applications if the see-through patterning can be verified as being seen when viewed from either side. A caution here regarding the see-through application on inner surface is that the light changes throughout the day at these installations. Reflections can occur such that they hide a patterning on an inner surface. And here again, this possibility favors surface number one application on all but rare installations. Supporting these claims of all consequences and importance of surface number one applications are two peer-reviewed science papers. So he has those. He has written a paper about that. And then we received comments from the Energy Commission, which my understanding is that window treatments provided for bird-friendly design will generally mean that window products require a separate NFRC rating. But that ability to achieve high ratings that result in energy performance credit could not be hampered. Specifically, bird-friendly products should be equally capable of low U factor, solar heat gain coefficient, and air leakage scores that are not only likely to have marginally worse visible transmittance scores due to opaque areas. And Payan is online with us today. Payan, did you have any more to say on this?
Sorry, hi, this is Payam Bullock with the California Energy Commission. No, I just wanted to reiterate that we at the Energy Commission rely heavily on the National Fenestration Rating Council to rate our fenestration products utilizing California for the U factor, solar heat gain coefficient, air leakage, and visible transmittance. And I think the NFRC team is here to to explain how they do that work.
Yes, so I've invited the National Fenestration Rating Council, NFRC, here today to provide a presentation and help answer any questions that you may have. I also have Pam available on Zoom, can answer other questions you have regarding the CEC and fenestration. Here with us today, we have in attendance Robin Merrifield, NFRC's Director of Communication, Scott Hanlon, Director Program Operations, and Kevin Louder, Senior Manager, Commercial Fenestration Programs, and he will be presenting today. So I am going to let him take over.
Right. I'm trying to gain access to the screen, Beth. It says I can't access while you're sharing.
Okay, so right here, stop share. Okay.
All right. Hopefully everybody can see that screen.
I can. Yes.
Looks good.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, give me 1 second here to set up my slides. All right, there we go. All right, so again, thank you, Beth, for having me. My name's Kevin Louder, and again, I'm the Senior Manager of the Commercial Fenestration Programs at NFRC. And again, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to speak with regards to NFRC ratings and how bird-friendly design glazing can be included and used in the product certification. Today, I'd like to outline the rating rules and options for how bird-friendly design glazing is used in NFRC product certification. But first, let me provide a brief description of bird-friendly design glazing, which you're all are probably well aware of by now, and how it's authorized for use in NFRC product certification. Bird-friendly glass is intended to prevent collisions, as Beth has already described in the prior slides. These collisions occur because birds see differently than humans, and they cannot distinguish between a reflection and the real thing. They also do not perceive glass as a barrier and will attempt to fly through it, causing the collision. Birds see wooden atriums or indoor plants as an inviting habitat. And again, at nighttime, lighting inside the building can also attract birds navigating, as they see that as a potential resting habitat. Bird-friendly glass is designed to help birds see the glass. Patterns on the glass which birds perceive as not passable are avoided. Visual patterns are very effective with this regards to include items like frits and etchings. Birds can also see in the UV spectrum, allowing for UV treatments to be applied in patterns that work well for birds and are not noticeable by humans. As mentioned on this prior slide, patterns on the glass which birds perceive as not passable are avoided. Historical studies show that most birds will not attempt to fly between two horizontal lines that are less than 2 inches apart or between two vertical lines that are 4 inches apart. These studies focused on larger migratory birds, and smaller birds need tighter spacing, so 2x2 is becoming more popular, and I think this will be touched on later on in these presentations. These objectives can be achieved using visible and invisible markings. Again, the invisible markings meaning UV applications. Common visible markings are created, again, using frit or etchings, obscuring the glass. Typically, the wider the lines or denser patterns are the most effective. For the UV markings that are applied to the glass, similar to the low E process or other invisible or transparent coatings, you see on the left-hand side will show what the bird sees. You can see kind of that purplish hue with the striping. On the right-hand side will show what the human eye can see. So the UV markings, again, they need to follow the 2x4 or 2x2 rules or other guidelines for visual markings to be the most effective. The vast majority of glass is optically tested, measured, and added to what is called the International Glazing Database, which is managed by Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory, also known as LBNL, and they incorporate that into their Windows software. This Windows software is used to assemble insulated glass units and calculate center of glass properties, which in turn is used for total product rating. In some cases, optical properties can't be measured directly, which requires different types of center of glass properties to be, or it requires the center of glass properties to be determined in other methods, which we'll talk about in the next slide. So now that you have a basic understanding of the types of bird-friendly glass treatments and how NFRC rates glass, we can dive into how NFRC handles the bird-friendly glazing. So NFRC does not specifically cite bird-friendly glazing, but visible patterns used would fall into an encompassing classification called obscure glazing. Some may also use the term diffuse glazing. As you can see in this NFRC definition, this was pulled from one of our technical documents. There are a variety of treatments that are covered and aligned with bird-friendly design. So now that we know that these bird-friendly designs and glazing treatments are products and effects that are covered under NFRC certification program, let me address the options that have been authorized for these glazing types. Starting out with the first option, it allows for the obscure treatment to be ignored, and the base glazing without the treatment can be used in the total product rating. This has been the path historically chosen, as it is the conservative approach. It's the easiest and most cost-effective path for the manufacturer. However, it's understood by the manufacturer that the potential performance related to solar heating and VT due to the patterning is not captured when using this option. There is no difference to U factor of the glazing with or without a tint, obscure, or diffuse treatment unless the treatment causes an emissivity change. Moving on to option 2. So this second option has not historically been widely chosen, and primarily due to the cost to manufacture the samples, the time for testing, and requires individual testing of all product configurations of interest. So depending on the method selected, such as a total product test, and total product means it's the entire glazing and framing, complete product. This rating can only be used with that specific product configuration and glazing that was evaluated. Normally, the glazing can be tested independently, which is desired and the most cost-effective for this testing procedure. And the results can be applied to any other framing. But again, all patterning configurations are independent tests. So again, it can be very costly for the manufacturer to do the physical testing option. Since the U factor is equivalent with and without the obscure treatment, as noted in the option 1 we discussed, and the physical testing for visible transmittance of pattern and frit glass is not available, typically only a solar heat gain test would be performed, which is our NFRC 201 test. If necessary, a U factor test could be performed, which is an NFRC 102 test, but would only be completed if the product cannot be simulated. This incurs, again, additional costs, which is not cost friendly for the manufacturer. Please note that this option is only applying to our NFRC 700 product certification program, which is our residential and site-built products. This option is not available in our NFRC 705 for our component modeling approach. So if you're working with the CMA program, again, this option is not available. And CMA is referenced in Title 24 code as well. All right, now for our final option, this is a new option that was just recently developed. But for this final option, the NFRC 300 and 301 procedure are used, which these procedures use a spectrophotometer and emisometer to measure the optical properties of the obscure glazing, also referred to as a non-specular or diffuse glazing in these technical documents. These procedures will allow for the full effects related to solar heat gain and VT of the obscure glazing, including all patterning and frit through simulation methods once the optical data is available and input into the database, and that closely matches the current product certification for our normal specular glazing that we perform today. Again, please note that this procedure has only been approved within the last year from one of NFRC's funded research projects with our partner, Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory. Since this is a new process, no manufacturers have gone through this option, and a completed procedure is yet to be defined, including simulation manual procedures, approval of a diffuse module, which would go into the Windows software, and other related simplification rules and procedures. This option will incur significant upfront cost for a manufacturer to include all glazing options, which include glazing thicknesses, patterns, etchings, depths, etc., through optical testing, submission, and approval to the database. Again, at present, there is no defined time frame when this option will be implemented or used. It should also be noted that there are a few products currently in our IGDB, in the International Glazing Database, for UV coated bird-friendly glazings, and these types of glazing follow the same rating procedures as standard glazing products. So I believe there's 2 glass manufacturers in the database now that do offer UV coated products for bird-friendly design. All right, so to recap the options for obscure glazing, we have 2 rating procedures available today, but only 1 option projected. That, you know, the 3rd option is projected for the future. Each option has an advantage or disadvantage for the manufacturer, but also a significant cost implication depending on the option used or required. We can see from option 1, this is the most cost-friendly for the manufacturer. It's available in all of our certification programs, residential and commercial. It's the fastest to rate, but again, it only provides that conservative rating. The solar gain VT reductions, which may be realized from that patterning, is not accounted for with this option. And with the option 2, it provides more detailed solar gain information, but the manufacturer can incur large costs for physical testing since all of those configurations of interest require separate testing. And that can, again, cause a delay in product certification. This option only applies, again, to the residential site build program and does not apply to the CMA process. And also note in this option that these physical tests that are performed, they do have expiration dates. So if these options are maintained in the product certification at a date, at the expiration date, they will have to be retested and recertified. The option 3, again, is expected to be most versatile, but the schedule for implementation is yet to be determined. And this will be available in the residential site build, and it will be available we're developing a new commercial program. So that will be an option in the new program, just not our existing CMA program. Once the glazings are optically tested and they're in the database, again, this product certification is very similar to how we handle standard glazing today. Please note that the NFRC ratings are for total product. The frame and the glass and labeling requires full product. Individual components in the system, such as just the glazing alone, are not labeled. Just wanted to point that out, that for the certification, it does require full product, not just glazing. Hopefully this information will help you guide and inform this group with regards to how NFRC includes bird-friendly glazing in product certification now and hopefully in the future. And with that, any questions, please reach out to me. Here's my contact information. So thank you.
It looks like Bob Raymer has his hand up. Go ahead, Bob.
Hi, yeah, I've got a question for Kevin, and Kevin, thank you so much for doing this. By the way, Bob Raymer with the Building Industry Association and BOMA and CVPA. I guess kind of what we're looking for is, we're putting into the regs sort of a notice to local jurisdictions, make sure that, when you consider this, that you've also considered potential impacts on the energy efficiency standards and on the WUI fire safety standards. And so just it would give us some comfort to hear directly from you that, you know, in general, it's looking like these etchings and frittings and whatnot should not in any way significantly impact or conflict with the energy regs. I'm hearing that a little bit from the CEC, but do you have, you know, ultimately what we don't want to do is do something that's going to negatively impact the energy efficiency compliance stuff that we're doing, because of course locals are checking for that. And so is it your gut feeling that this should not be kind of a problem going forward? Do you have an opinion?
Yeah, so the general reply to that would be, so the bird-friendly glazing, yes, they can be rated. Again, if most manufacturers choose option 1, it's going to be the same rating, whether you have the patterning on it or not. So there's no new rating. If the manufacturer certifies with the original glazing, they can apply the treatment and they'll get the same rating. Now,
Right.
the only caveat to that is you don't get the benefits of the rating, potential benefits of reduced solar heat gain, reduced VT. So there may be some, you're not going to see that when they're using that for their HVAC design criteria on new buildings. So there is some inconsistencies there. If that information is actually required, there's going to be a lot of, you know, testing for the manufacturer. I would assume that would get passed on down along the line to get that precise, if they want the precise solar gain VT rating. So that there could be a, you know, significant cost burden associated with actually requiring the precise value for those treatments. And again, I'm hoping in the future, I can't give you a good timeline for when that option 3 would be available, but that would, you know, perfectly give you factor solar gain VT of that treatment. But to kind of generally answer your question today, there should be no issues getting a rating for the bird-friendly treatment. Like I said, as long as they choose option 1, that seems to be the most user-friendly and cost-effective for the manufacturer.
Hey, thank you. Thank you for that's what we wanted to hear.
Hi, go ahead, Payam.
So Kevin, this is Pam, California Energy Commission. You said that the etching option 1, you cannot take the credit for it, correct? But VT, the visible transmittance on that glass is going to go down, correct?
That is correct. Yeah. So when you do option 1, we're saying it's conservative rating because the numbers are elevated more so than what they actually are in real life.
Yeah, but isn't higher VT better?
It depends on
lower
the
SHGC, higher VT. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it depends on the application of the building. If you know what are the requirements, you have to look at the lighting requirements of the building. If you're putting the treatments on, obviously you're blocking some of the light transmittance, so you'd have to look at your lighting requirements.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Thank you. Hi, Mia.
Hi there. I actually, Bob kind of asked the question and Payam kind of answered. I'm trying to understand, Payam, with what you've heard. You know, I don't think the audience here maybe understands what's needed when we say still must comply with the energy code. I think it kind of goes back to Bob's question is there consistency with what we're hearing or inconsistency, or is there concerns with the option 1 certification? I'm just trying to better understand how this is going to work in compliance with the energy code.
So if I may interject here, so we have a set prescriptive requirements for U factor, SHGC, and VT for large commercial buildings, or actually I shouldn't say large commercial buildings. And if this the issue is it doesn't affect the U factor, which is good. It reduces the solar heat gain coefficient and it reduces the visible transmittance, which actually may affect the daylighting requirements that we have in the standards, and we're not going to be able to capture that. So because we don't have a rating for it if you use option 1. I got to think about that a little bit.
Yeah, if I could jump back in, this is Bob Raymer again with Bowman CBPA. As the Energy Commission goes forward with new regulations, of course, they do this every 3 years. And for both non-residential and for residential, over the years, they've moved things out of the voluntary compliance option into the mandatory prescriptive, or at least in some cases, a higher level of mandation. So the concern we've got is more and more as we move forward, we're sort of losing compliance options, and it becomes far more important when we're using high efficiency window systems, which we're definitely in that realm now, that these numbers work. And so I'm suspecting that in many cases, this isn't going to be a problem, but one of the benefits of this particular proposal this time is it's going into the appendix. It's a little bit limited from what we've seen in previous proposals dating back 8 to 10 years. And so that's some level of comfort, but we kind of need to get a handle on this. And I know that, when we get to the Code Advisory Committee in like March or April, this will definitely be a question that comes up. So, for the next, half a year, if we can get a better understanding of, in general, how will this impact, that'd be great. Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Is there any other hands that you see?
Yeah, I have one more question for Kevin. And Kevin, thank you so much for taking the time today to help explain this technical information. We really do appreciate it. You touched on the fact that it's for residential testing, and I just want to clarify if there's a difference, if there's different testing for commercial. I just want to make sure, because what we're proposing is this bird friendly is applicable to non-residential, which is commercial, basically. So I want to make sure we're talking the same language here.
Yeah. So if you use the option 1, the 700 is our normal residential site build program. 705 is the commercial CMA. So if they use option 1, yes, that's applicable to both certification programs. When you try to dig into option 2, that physical testing, there's not an option in the CMA program. You could do a site built, which is a commercial application. You could run that route. It's just if CMA is being specified for the project, that application would not use this physical testing.
That helps. Thank you so much.
Yep.
There are no more hands, but we do have one person on the phone if they wanted to comment.
Okay. Anybody else have any comments? Anybody on the phone have any comments? All right. Well, I just would really like to thank Robin Merrifield, Scott Hanlon, and Kevin Lauder for being here and presenting for us today. It helps, I think, answer a lot of those questions that we've had. So thank you so very much.
Thank you, Beth. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Good job, Kevin. Do you need us to hang anymore, Beth, or?
Unless anybody else has any more questions. No?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay. Yeah, you guys,
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Beth, please reach out if you have any questions that come after we depart. Whether it's a phone call, email, we'll definitely be happy to, if you want a copy of this presentation,
I
PDF,
was on one.
yeah, we'll make sure we get a copy of that to you. So, and Payam knows us as well, so he could definitely reach out and provide any contact information. So,
All right. Thanks, guys.
have a great weekend. Thank you for the opportunity. We really, truly appreciate it.
Yeah, so do we. Thanks.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Share screen. Now we're going to get into the meat of our express terms. Good. Okay, good. So in this particular one, we did receive one comment here. So I'll go through bird-friendly building design. And again, like Bob Raymer said, these are going into the voluntary regulations, non-residential appendix A5. And so for newly constructed buildings or the alteration of existing buildings, which includes the replacement of all is highlighted as part of the comment, and I'll go over that in a minute. Exterior glazing shall comply with bird-friendly building design elements and features in sections A5 107.1 through A5 107.3 and the California Energy Code. And then a note, exterior treatments of buildings in high fire severity zones mapped by the state fire marshal shall comply with Chapter 7A of the current California Building Code. So we got a commenter from Lance Davis, and he felt that all is very restrictive. A renovation that chooses not to replace an alley window would then be exempt, suggest a majority. So, hi, Bob.
Hi there, Bob Raymer with CBPA in Boma. We appreciate the note that you put here. This is vital. I know some people may not understand kind of what we're getting at, but an evolving and becoming a very important portion of 7A is now the protection treatment of burning embers that are flying in advance of the fires. And there are some good-looking treatments for the bird-friendly rigs that could potentially create sort of little traps for these burning embers. The same problem we had with some of the vents, the older vents, and that. So we definitely appreciate you putting in this note saying, hey, make sure that you've taken this into account. And by the way, as I mentioned yesterday, the maps that the fire marshal is doing are about to include moderate fire severity zones and high fire severity zones, in addition to very high fire. And so more of the state is going to be sort of into these areas, and this is good. So thank you for doing it.
Would your suggestion be to add a moderate and high fire?
No, I would say just keep it the way you've got it.
Okay.
But there might be some people watching, and why are they even saying this? And that's why, from 10 years ago, embers weren't necessarily that big of a deal, but given climate change and whatnot, they are. And so once again, this is a great note to have here. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Anybody have any comments on the replacement of all exterior glazing? Being that was all is very restrictive. So would everybody be comfortable with us replacing all with just replacement of exterior glazing?
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
So can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
This is not including a repair, correct? So somebody breaks my window or shoots it out and I have to replace it. Now, do I have to put an exterior bird-friendly glass as a replacement?
These are voluntary provisions, and no.
Yeah.
No, but you raise a good point in that I think what we'll do is we'll go back and make sure that the way the whole thing reads together is that we aren't accidentally including repair. But generally repair is defined as you're replacing in kind.
Sure.
So no, that's not the intent anyway, Pam, but that's a great question because we just want to make sure there isn't a loophole in the overall regs.
Okay, because okay. So aesthetically, I don't know, would the architect or the building owner complain that I have to I'm replacing my windows. Now, one side of my building is going to look different than my other side. Is that going to be a problem? Are you going to get pushback? That's what my concern is.
Yeah, good question. Good question. Yeah, we'll look further into that. We'll address that. Thank you. Timothy.
My question is, Timothy O'Malley with California Building Standards Commission. When a local jurisdiction actually adopts this, it becomes mandatory to a point, I suppose. So then that would have to be considered as well if we're talking about the exterior glazing being replaced and such. So yeah, I can appreciate that the confusion might be that if it becomes a mandatory requirement, that it has to be cleared up. That's all my comment is.
Thank you. Were there any other comments or questions? People on the phone? Okay. The key critical area for birds is the first 40 feet above grade. Glazing applications to the first 40 feet are essential for a building to be considered bird friendly. These dimensions relate to the typical city tree heights. This criterion is subject to the specific building design and site conditions. For instance, if the site is too close to a natural area such as a ravine or a woodlot or other natural feature, where the majority of the vegetation is generally higher than average, glass treatments in these areas should be applied to the height of the top of the surrounding tree canopy or the anticipated height of the surrounding vegetation at maturity. Similarly, for elevated landscapes such as podium gardens and green roofs, glass adjacent to or in the vicinity of these elements should be made bird friendly. So we did receive another a comment on this one as far as required elevation treatment. That building elevation treatment shall incorporate bird-friendly mitigation strategies. No less than 90% of a building elevation measured from grade to the height of 40 feet above grade, or from grade to the height of an adjacent mature tree canopy, whichever is greater, shall incorporate bird-friendly mitigation strategies. No less than 60% of building elevation 40 feet above grade to the top of the building elevation shall incorporate bird-friendly mitigation strategies. So this is a picture of S.J. Quinney School of Law in Salt Lake City, Utah. This is a building of 40 feet in height, which is approximately 3 to 4 stories. And the building has a patterned insect screen, louvers, screen, sunshades, and a UV glass. The comment was Dan Pizzelli, and up to a certain height, like 75 feet, is in what New York law goes by. ABC and others have said upper floors of tall buildings are not significant threats. Does anybody have any comments, questions, concerns here regarding this section? On the phone? Glazing with visual markers, most effective when the glass exterior fritted glass includes adhered ceramic lines, dots, or other patterns. Etching, fritting, and frosting not only reduce the bird collisions, but also reduce energy costs by reducing solar heat gain and reducing cooling loads. You can save energy and birds while still naturally lighting your building. Existing glass can be frosted using sandblasting. So the next couple of slides has the 5 exceptions under the glazing. So required glazing, elevation treatment strategies to minimize the risk of birds colliding with buildings. Glazing with visual markers shall include but not be limited to, oh, I gotta go back one. How do I go back? So this was etched or fritted glass with patterns of elements on the exterior having minimum dimensions of 1/4 inch diameter for dots, 1/8 inch width for stripes, and a density of 2 inches maximum horizontally and vertically. And note, if visual markers are on glass surface too, they can be effective if visible behind the exterior surface with reflectivity of 15% or less. And this is a picture of a OVO Athletic Center in Toronto, Canada. It has a bird-friendly glass patterned etched surface patterned on surface one. Questions, concerns, comments? Okay, continuing with glazing, we have interior, exterior glazing film with 2x2 visual markers, laminated glass with 2x2 visual markers, patterned ultraviolet coating, or the use of contrasting pattern UV absorbing and UV rays. UV reflecting films. No, low E coating shall be behind the visual markers. Glass block or channel glass. Developed glazing technologies documented to reduce bird strikes as tested by independent third party and approved by the authority having jurisdiction. So we did get 2 comments on this. First commenter was Lance Davis. And his comment was, this all seems very restrictive. I personally like the threat factor ratings on glass. ABC and the National Glass Association like them too. Set a threat factor number and a height and allow design teams to determine how to achieve it. This allows more freedom, more product innovation, and keeps the requirements from being outdated once released. And our second commenter commented, Dan Pizzelli, interior films only okay if behind glass with exterior reflectivity of 15% or less. Does anybody else have any other comments, concerns? Anybody on the phone? Hi, Mia.
Hi there. I didn't quite understand the first comment. And so is it providing like a performance-based approach and not getting specific in the bird-friendly designs? I'm kind of confused by that.
Yeah, he personally likes the threat factor ratings on glass. Set a threat factor number and height and allow design team to determine how to achieve it.
Okay. I just wonder, yeah, I just don't know enough about what that is. You know, what is the threat factor?
I can actually get in touch with Lance and have him maybe
Yeah, we might need more information on
on that. I don't believe,
Yeah.
I don't think there's a Lance Davis on, is there? I invited him. Yeah, I'll reach out to Lance and
Okay.
get information from him. Thank you.
Thanks, Beth.
So just the next couple of slides are examples of what adhesive film and glass block look like on a building. Pictured here is the Northwestern University, Francis Cyril Hall in Evanston, Illinois, which has bird-friendly material, surface one, window adhesives, and window film. Next is the Hetch Warehouse in Washington, D.C., bird-friendly material, unpatterned glass block. So these next floor slides are going to go through the exception, the provisions for slats, screens, and netting louvers. So glass protected by exterior features that create visible barrier of the glazing may include, but not limited to, horizontal or vertical slats of 1/8 inch, minimum face width, minimum 2 inch. That's part of it's caught up. Spacing that obscure 85% of glass when viewed from all visible angles. And this is just a picture here, Langley Academy in Langley, England, glass assembly, louvers and sunshades. So B is grills, screens, or 1/8 inch diameter welded wire mesh with openings no more than 2 inch, maximum horizontally and vertically installed, parallel to and no more than 3 1/4 foot from the first surface of glass, glass surface 1. And this here is a picture of the Minneapolis Transit Center in Minneapolis, Minnesota, with screens, sunshades, and wire mesh openings. Continuing on with slat screens and louvers. So netting with 1 inch maximum opening installed taut at least 6 inches away from the first surface of glass. You know, netting is a simple solution for collisions, but the netting must be installed correctly and have a small mesh size. Picture here is the Chicago Botanical Gardens in Chicago, Illinois. And then we have sunshades or louvers, 9 inches deep, vertically spaced, a maximum of 9 inches or 6 inches deep horizontally, at maximum 6 inches spacing and parallel or angled to the glass surface. Again, this is the S.J. Quinney School of Law in Salt Lake City, Utah, with bird-friendly glass patterns, insect screen, louvers, screen sunshades, and UV glass. And I'll go through one more and I'll ask for any comment. Oh, Mia, you have your hand up? You're muted.
Yeah, I was just gonna mention, I think that it's the slat screens, nettings, and louvers is the primary reason why we include that note that you must comply with chapter 7A in the building code, because these are the items Bob Raymer had mentioned can cause collection of embers or trap things. So
so I wonder if we should move the note down underneath A5107.
You know, we can look at the regs as a whole. It's not a problem to have it right at the beginning, so that the whole provision has to make sure it doesn't conflict with 7A.
The last one. Okay, now we're going to go into special conditions. A5107-2 special conditions. The following special conditions shall comply with the provisions in section A5107.1 as appropriate. The first is a glass facade adjacent to a vegetated roof. This is a photo of the botanical gardens. Did anybody else have any questions on the last A5107.1? I forgot to ask. Anybody on the phone? Okay, so continue on with special conditions. So although this pictured is not glass facade adjacent to a vegetated roof, it is a vegetated roof. So it's kind of why I put it right here. So, and then the next set of special conditions are glass railings and guardrails. Railings of many types can be safe for birds, functional, decorative, and sometimes works of art. Transparent corners that extend 5.5 feet on either side of the building is another special condition. This is at Columbia University School of Nursing. And 4, glass passageways less than 5.5 feet wide. And auxiliary glass buildings such as a glass pavilion or atria exposed to the sky, or auxiliary glass buildings such as glass pavilion or atria exposed to a courtyard or with a water feature or plants. And I think I remember Kevin talking about this, when the birds see the plants inside, you know, it attracts them to these kind of conditions. So does anybody have any comments, questions, or concerns on special conditions? Anybody on the phone? Okay. So fatal light attraction results in bird death by collision. Low-flying, night migrating birds are known to be attracted to artificial light. Once attracted, birds become disoriented. And when large number of birds are present, multiple collisions between birds and human-built structures are possible. Night lighting attracts birds when cloud cover forces them to fly at lower altitudes during inclement weather. So we did get one comment on nighttime conditions, A51073. Nighttime lighting at the top of the building and in the interior of all areas visible through exterior glazing, including lobby and atria, shall be controlled with a time switch control device or occupancy sensor complying with the current California Energy Code. The control device shall be programmed so the lights are extinguished from 2 a.m. to dawn, emergency lighting and lighting required for nighttime security. And Dan Pizzilli had a comment, is there an exception for nighttime work? Some people, industries work late through the night and need lights on. Bob.
Yeah, I believe the CEC standards, it's basically, it turns off the light, when the program timer gets there, but you can get right up and turn it right back on. The point there is if there's nobody in the office, it basically a whole bunch of them turn off. In CBI's office in the Esquire building at 6 o'clock every day, 6 p.m. The lights go off. But if you need to turn it back on because you're working, you can turn it back on. And it does various programs throughout the night. So the CEC standards kind of take that into account. Now, kind of looking overall, going back and forth with PIAM, it looks like the one sort of, I don't want to say major issue here, but one thing that we need to look into between now and the Code Advisory Committee meetings will be the impact on daylighting. Obviously, the CEC is trying to reduce energy consumption in these non-residential buildings, particularly during daytime, and obviously getting rid of some of that lighting load is a big part of that. And to do that, there are various daylighting techniques that can be installed. And so to the extent that the etchings or some of the other films or whatever might impact daylighting, I think that should probably be where we focus the energy efficiency on over the coming months or whatever, because that seems to be we're kind of focusing down finally on the one issue that kind of needs to be addressed. I don't think the others, I don't think the SHG, the solar heat gain, et cetera, and the VT are that big of a deal. I just think the visible transmittance for daytime is where you need to look at. And so that'll be kind of what we're looking into, and we hope you do the same. Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Any other questions or concerns at nighttime conditions? Okay, and then we'll move on to A5.107.3.1, Systems for Operation and Maintenance Manual. Include written recommendations that lighting is extinguished pursuant to A5.1073 and janitorial services to the building are scheduled between sunrise and sunset. So there was a comment here that Jane had suggested include written recommendations that lighting is extinguished pursuant to A5.107.3 and janitorial services scheduled between sunrise and sunset. And then she had added, how about any illumination from nighttime work shall not escape through exterior windows, either by interior location or by window shading. Although she felt that it might need a little bit of work here if we're to use that. Does anybody have any questions or comments in a way that we could maybe write this better, if you will? And so there was a comment from Dan Pacelli. Has ABC or other bird groups indicated that this is necessary for a systems or operation and maintenance manual? So I know that they are part of the grain code and other situations. So okay. Any comments from anybody on Zoom or the phone? All right. Is there a, I'm trying to think of the man's name. Somebody from DGS on. Nickel, no. I can ask when I get there. So now I just have a few slides of different places. Batson Building in Sacramento, California, that has bird-friendly glass assembly, motorized shades, solar sunshades, exterior sunshades. This is the Cathedral of Christ, the Light in Oakland, California, that has bird-friendly with glass pattern and frit markers. Intuit headquarters in Mountain View, California, with glass pattern with frit markers. This is the Los Angeles Convention Center. The new glass panes include frit dot patterns that alert birds to the presence of a solid barrier while blurring reflected images. The new materials also made the building easier to heat and cool, reducing energy needs over 25% from the pre-renovated building. This is the California Coastal Commission. Kaleidoscape has provided us a picture of this. It's a beautiful bird-friendly glass pattern glass. Glass pattern glass. California Natural Resources Agency in Sacramento. Bird strike predominantly occur within the first 40 vertical feet of building. DGS, from the DGS representative, the lowest 40 feet of our project has a large variety of facade elements with less reflective materials, further helping mitigate bird strikes. Is anybody from DGS here that can talk about this building? I wasn't sure if you could make it or not. Here's another picture. Okay, so does anybody have any other items that are not on the agenda that they wanted to talk about? Nothing. And so our action items. You know, we rely a lot on help from outside that helps us with our cost benefit analysis and our eyesore language. And if you have any feedback that you can provide to us, if we could get that feedback by September 23rd, would be fabulous. So any estimated cost of compliance, estimated potential benefits, and related assumptions used for building standards. Right. You know, and I did receive some figures from Fish and Wildlife. Parachute cord curtains costing approximately 11 cents per square foot. Tempera paint costs 13 cents per square foot. Screen and netting costs about $1.83 per square foot. Tape, decals, external film costing, you know, $2.50 for tape, $8 to $12 for dot patterns, $4 to $6 for film. If anybody has any other cost figures that they can supply to us or me here at the Building Standards Commission, that'd be wonderful. Again, if you'd like to sign up for our listserv, and so you can receive meeting notices, here is our contact information. And like I said, I'll accept any additional feedback on our draft ET or any cost benefit analysis until the 23rd of this month, September. And I really appreciate everybody here taking the time out to help us with our bird-friendly design standards. And thank you for being here. Hi, Mia.
Hey, thanks. Yeah, I would just ask, and I know some of those folks weren't on the line, is the folks that had comments about going from 40 feet to 75 feet, it would be, you know, what is the science there?
Okay,
You know, perhaps that's another alternate thing that the local jurisdictions can adopt within the code, depending on what flyway they're in or something like that. I mean, maybe that's the reason for that. That's an idea. It sounds like, you know, just a little bit more work on the daylighting issue, but I think what's important to keep in mind is the requirement would be for only the first 40 feet above grade. It's not the entire building. So,
Right.
so perhaps working with the Energy Commission on that, making sure that maybe there's an overall average or something. I don't know. So I haven't looked into that enough. So that's just one other idea. And then the cost benefit analysis, something we mentioned yesterday was, so from here on out, what the Building Standards Commission will be doing is developing the support documentation for the draft express terms. And that is a pretty lengthy process that goes through review at the Department of General Services, and then it goes to GovOps, so on and so forth. And ultimately it goes to the Department of Finance. And during that time, we'll be reviewing the other state agencies' rulemaking packages that we'll receive on December 1st, which starts that whole process for the code advisory committees in early spring. So the need for this information early on is important because there's not a lot of opportunity to create additional amendments that are, we'll say, significant much after October is what I would say. You know, there's the fine tuning we can do after code advisory committee, but we can't make pretty substantive changes that would modify that cost benefit analysis that's already been out for review for quite some time. So anyway, I just kind of want to offer that as part of the process piece too. I don't know if anybody else has comments or questions, but thank you very much. And I do really appreciate the folks that participated to help explain the efficiency part of it.
yeah, me too. Thanks, Mia. Any other hands? Thank you all for being here. Enjoy the rest of your day and weekend. Bye.